What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bob's Garage. Today I'm going to show you how to test out a heater core. Right, so here we have it. If you watched my previous video, what happened was I lost my tensioner belt pulley. It broke off. So my accessory belt was not spinning any accessories, so no power steering. That's how I knew there was a problem, no power steering, but also no water pump. So the car ran a little hot. The temperature gauge wasn't pegged, but it was running hot. I could see that. And before I could shut the car down and all that, some steam started shooting from the vent into the cabin. So I tried to look and ask around why there would be steam in the vents like that, and basically hoping, praying that it wasn't my heater core, but I mean, it's most likely an issue with my heater core. So here's where we're at. This is a continuation from my previous video. So before I finish putting the car the rest of the way back together, I figured I'd make another video showing how to test out the heater core. So I already got the car partially apart, and I got before I put the front bumper on, this is why I wanted to test this. So I did get the whole front end in. Down in here I replaced the tensioner pulley. I got the belt back on there. And so I removed the trim to get to the heater core, and we're gonna pull this aside here. We'll throw this over here. That's the rubber trim underneath there. Just pop that off. One goes along this edge, and the other goes along this edge. And for those of you that don't know or may want to learn, the heater core is behind this thing here. So we got to get to those hoses, pull them off, inspect everything, and I just wanted to see like, I don't even know where my coolant went. Someone's like, well, where'd your coolant go? I'm like, I have absolutely zero clue. So all I know is it's non-existent. So let's get this shroud off. The inlet and outlet hoses that feed the heater core are inside this black plastic shroud. There you go. And we need to get these hoses off and find or come up with some sort of a way to add a little bit of pressure on these and see what we can make happen. Alright, so for those of you that don't know, the coolant system on a car, it's basically pressurized. So that's why they tell you don't remove your reservoir cap while the engine's hot, because it's pressurized. But some people don't know, but because it can hold pressure, it can also hold vacuum. Now there's a couple different schools of thought. Some people say like don't apply a vacuum to a system that's supposed to be under pressure, positive pressure. But you may have seen in my previous videos, I have a tool or a system called the Airlift. It's like the Airlift 5500 or something. And what that does is you put a special, oh, there it goes. You put a special cap on here after you have the whole car back together. So you have the whole car back together. You put a special cap on here, and you actually use your air compressor and pressurize the whole coolant system. And then you actually draw a vacuum on the coolant system. And then if the system can hold a vacuum, then you know you don't have a leak anywhere in the system. And then once you have it under a small vacuum, then you crack that open, and the vacuum draws in your coolant, and you actually fill your system, and it makes it so there's no air bubbles or anything anywhere in the system. It's a really awesome system. It's called the Airlift, and the problem is I don't think I have that tool here with me now. That would be how I would pressure test this now. So I'm gonna look and see if it's here, but so here's the problem: is if my heater core is broken, I don't want to fill this with fluid or coolant, start the car up and start dumping all my coolant into my cabin or into my vents. I don't want to do that. Some steam wasn't as bad because then the steam was able to dissipate, but like raw coolant just dumping all over into my cabin, that would make things even worse. So I want to try to find a way to test out my heater core and make sure that it's okay before I do that. So that's the whole premise behind this video and what we're doing here. So stay tuned for more. Alright, so I just came up with my own rudimentary test to check the heater core. So someone was like, well, did the steam smell like coolant or did the steam smell like R134A? So, you know, I just smelled the vents, and I actually don't really smell much on the vents. But I checked the heater, the passenger floorboard here, and it's, I think you can see that shine on my hand. I got some fluid down here. So, pulled out the mat. So it's mostly, it's not really showing up, but it's mostly a little wet or whatever in the corner over here. So, pretty certain that's my heater core. So what I'll do is, I'm just gonna come up with a way to bypass it. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so I did have some condensation on the floorboard, so what I'm going to do is just bypass it for now. I don't have time to test it, play with it, whatever. We'll do that in another video. So I just pulled back these pinch clamps. I just pinched them with a pair of pliers, slid them back. Now I'm going to try to pry these hoses off the heater core. So the heater core is in the firewall there. That's what they're connected to. So let's get this done, and then we're going to make a trip over to the hardware store most likely. The car parts store doesn't have any U-shaped hoses in stock. It'd take a few hours to get them, so let's get this going. Alright, there you have it. I just had to pull the hose clamps a little further down because those are so long, those tubes coming out of the heater core. So now I just need to cap off those pipes leading to the heater core. There's probably a little bit of fluid left in there, and we got to find a way to connect these two together. Yeah, that's it. I think those are about 5/8 or 3/4 hoses. Okay, we're on our bikes. We're going to the bank and the hardware store to try to find pieces to bypass the heater core. Just went on a bike ride to go get some plumbing parts to bypass the heater core. So what I need to do is these two black hoses go into the heater core. The heater core is like inside the car kind of. And we are going to install a little piece of piping and connect them. So from here to here. So that's it, and then I can finish putting the car together. Alright, what's going on, everybody? So we just made a trip to the hardware store, and we picked up a bunch of stuff to do this heater bypass. I wasn't sure off the top of my head what sizes I would need and all that. So this is a 1/2 inch, this is 3/4. These are both 1/2 inch, and this is 3/4. So I thought maybe those pipes, the 3/4 would be needed, but after just initial investigation, I'm thinking it's gonna take this 1/2 inch elbow. Now I don't even know what this stuff is called. I'm sure one of you guys are a plumber out there or knows way more about this stuff than me. Hopefully it can hold up to the temp. I don't know. Well, now that I'm looking, this actually stamped on here says 3/4. It's not showing up on the camera, and this is 1 inch. So whoops. Yeah, I thought about 1/2 inch and 3/4. So it is 3/4. So what I'm gonna do is try to put this into here, and let me get a little bit of a light on here, and let's see here. So I'm gonna basically put them into the hoses and then slide these clamps up. And if you look, these barbs on this piece of plastic are pretty close to the same as the barbs on the heater core pipes themselves that come out. So I think that's pretty good. I also did pick up some, I wanted just like some simple little rubber caps to put over those heater core pipes that are sticking out, but they didn't have, well, they told me they didn't have caps, like just little rubber slip-on caps. So I bought stoppers. So all this stuff was under 10 bucks, To be honest, I'm only going to need this, which was $1.79, and probably these two. And so that would have been like $3 to do this heater core bypass. So I'm going to push this onto the hoses, and when we come back, we'll see how it looks. Okay, there you have it. That took me all of about 3 seconds to push onto the pipe. It should be long enough that these little built-in hose clamps that are stock hose clamps should hold it. I'm hoping. We'll see. So what I'm going to do is just get a pair of pliers and grab this hose clamp and slide it up here, and grab this one and slide it up here, and I'm going to call that about done for now. I'm pretty much at this point just presuming that my heater core is bad. So I have a puddle of coolant in my passenger floorboard. Hopefully my transmission control unit is going to survive. This car is Tiptronic. And yeah, so let me get this on here, and then what I'll do is I'm going to finish putting the car back together, and then I can I'll fill it up with coolant and let it run and all that good stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for more. And here's the finished product. So I just basically brought the hose clamp up to the near the top. You on the left side here, you want to make sure that you stay away from this little pinhole here. That's for bleeding off air out of your your heater core, air bubbles. So that should do it. And yeah, stay tuned for more. Oh, just keep holding it.
I always move.
That's okay. Alright, so I got the coolant filled up, whatever. The bypass is in place up there. And before I put this front bumper on, I'm going to start it up and see what, see, make sure there's no leaks or anything.
It goes all the way down. It takes a long time.
Yeah, it took a lot of fluid. Alright, don't lean on anything and just stay right there, okay? Alright, here we go. We're gonna start this thing up, see what happens. Okay. Okay, looking good. Alright, so it appears to be working. The only step left to do is to basically test the AC. Some coolant got into the vents. I don't know how to get it out of the vents, so I'm not going to be ripping the vent or the dash apart today. And it's hot enough where we need air conditioning, so I'm just going to see what happens. So here we are. Well, it doesn't smell bad, well, excessively bad. Might have gotten lucky without like destroying the vents because it came through as steam rather than, you know, just liquid pouring out. But a bunch of liquid did make it to the footwell. Not a bunch, but it was damp a little bit. There's the coolant. I can smell it now. Yay. Well, at least it's blowing cold. I'm not going to really know until it heats up a little bit more in terms of how it's working. So I think that's the water gauge. I think that's the oil gauge. But oh, there goes the baffles and the vents. So it's blowing nice and cold. Let me see if I can feel it circulating water through the heater core hoses. mean, it's not leaking, but I don't even feel anything really coming through here. So, I don't know. I do smell some coolant. Everything looks pretty good in the engine here. So it looks like I need a little bit of coolant, a coolant top off. The air conditioner's running. This is spinning right now. And that's about it. So now that it's not leaking anything, I don't see anything that's a shiny reflection. Now I can get the front bumper back on. So, and the passenger headlight. Stay tuned for more. Well, would you look at that? I was actually able to get that popped down by myself. Wasn't too incredibly difficult. What a difference a new bumper makes versus a janky, old, busted, cracked one. Wow. So I just got to put the screws in and reinstall the passenger headlight.